What a week it's been already in Region 9 sports. We're breaking it down in today's edition of the Southern Utah Sports Report. Welcome on in, everybody. Southern Utah Sports Report. It's podcast right here with the Fan Sports Network. My name is Caden Formaster. Thank you for joining me on the show today. We've got a lot to break down here on this Friday edition of the show. Looking back at the last week of Region 9 athletics, plus looking forward to this weekend because we've got a lot of stuff coming up today, this weekend. And man, let's get into it because I'm just saying, when I say there's a lot to get to, I mean, there's a lot to get to. It doesn't look like a big list. Well, if you're watching on YouTube, I know that you can listen to this podcast wherever it is that you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, wherever it is that you're listening to your podcast. You can listen to us on those places, or you can watch this over on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, we got the list of things we're talking about today. We've got drill team, girls basketball, boys basketball, and wrestling. And listen, it's a lot of high school sports going on right now, but it's also that time of year where everything is getting into the thick of it. For drill team, it's state drill, like now, like today. So we're going to be talking about that. But we also have girls basketball, boys basketball that's been heating up. We've got an insane slate of basketball games we've seen, that we're going to see. It's amazing. So we'll get into all of that. Plus, we've got some wrestling to talk about. First time talking wrestling on the podcast, which is exciting because I love to cover sports that maybe I don't actually know all that much about, right? Wrestling is one of those. I don't follow wrestling as closely as I do other sports. Let's be real. I have a lot going on. Like, that's just the nature of it. So I don't always have the bandwidth to just cover every single thing in depth. But I'm going to do my best today to try to get you some high school wrestling coverage. So let's talk about all this stuff coming up. Let's start with drill. We're going to start with drill first because it's going on today. All right, the finals for drill is like happening probably while you're watching this. If you're watching this as soon as it comes out, it's happening right now. If you're a little late to the game, you're watching this later, it's probably already done. So let's dive right on into the action. As far as 4A drill goes, okay? 4A drill has now finished up the semifinal round. That was yesterday. Today it's the final round. So there are only a few teams left. Those teams from Region 9 being Cedar, Crimson Cliffs, Desert Hills, and Snow Canyon. So Dixie's out. So Jetettes didn't make it through. Now, again, I think Pineview does now have drill team again. They didn't used to, and now they do, which is exciting. But so nobody else. Again, Crimson Cliffs, Desert Hills, Cedar, Snow Canyon. I would give you all the drill team names. I'm certain on a few of those, not all of them. I know Tempest Line is Desert Hills. I know Moitawa is Cedar. And Snow Canyon, I used to know. Oh, it's going to bug me that I can't think of it. Someone's going to come after me, but that's okay because, you know what, we love our drill team. I've been to many state drill tournaments. My mom was a drill team coach back in the day in 2A. She was a drill team coach at Enterprise High School. So good times, man. I've been to a lot of drill team tournaments, and I gotta tell you, it's wild. If you've never been to a drill tournament, it's maybe more intense when it comes to like the parents and the fans than any sport I've ever been to. And don't get me wrong, parents and fans are intense at just about anything. I have never seen a larger percentage of fans going crazy than I have at drill team competitions. It's insane. So Cedar, Crimson Cliffs, Desert Hills, Snow Canyon, those are the teams that made it through for Region 9. Bear River is also there, Stansbury is there, and Ridgeline and Skyview. Good chance Ridgeline wins it all. There's a good chance Ridgeline wins it all. They are a really, really good team. So watch out for that to maybe come true, but we'll see. Desert Hills, I think, has a shot as well. Snow Canyon's been doing really well. And I think even Cedar found their way. That's your top three. Those were the top three schools coming out of Region 9. So when they had region at SUU last week or a couple weeks ago. So those are the top three coming out of Region 9. We'll see how they do at the state tournament. But 3A, Canyon View is potentially looking at another one. They've won the past 4 3A state titles at Canyon View in drill team. So can they make it 5? I guess we'll see. They are a part of the few teams that are left in 3A as well. 2A, we do have some Southern Utah schools as well. Beavers in it. Enterprise is there. We've got Kanab. as far as Southern Utah teams go that are kind of within the reach of us here in Southern Utah. So a few other teams, North Summit, South Sevier, South Summit, Grand, Gunnison Valley are the final 2A teams. So anyway, well, yeah, we'll see how Region 9 does and the rest of our Southern Utah teams do in drill up at state. And I know that the Fan Sports Network's own Devin Dixon is there. He's got a daughter that dances. And so he's up there as both a dad and maybe a correspondent, we'll say. So, yeah, it's fun stuff. All right, let's go to girls basketball. We're going to start with girls. They did have games last night, so we'll break those down for you. And, man, it was a crazy night last night in girls basketball when it comes down to the top team in the state of Utah. The top team in Region 9 gets another loss. It's very rare that you see this team losing because they have now only lost 2 games, lost to Pineview and now to Snow Canyon. The Dixie Flyers fell 60-57 to the Warriors. Now, this game got tied up with like 5 seconds left. This game was tied with about 5 seconds left, and it was Piper Mackey who just walked it down the court, stepped into a 3 and hit it. It was game over. I mean, 60-57, Snow Canyon gets the win here. That's a fantastic game. That's a good win for Snow Canyon, too. They're a 12-9 team that goes into this game thinking, man, this is a team that's tough. Quite frankly, this is just a team that's tough, that they don't lose. Dixie just does not lose. They're very well coached. They're very well disciplined. They have a lot of talent. They're very guard heavy. The guards are really, really good on this Dixie Flyer team with Addie Winters and Izzy Hollingshead, and they really run the show. They do, and they do it very well. To be fair, Snow Canyon is fairly well rounded. They might not have the overall talent level that Dixie has, but they matched up really well against them last night. And you can obviously see that as they get the win here. And yeah, you got to give credit where credit is due in a lot of ways here. And a lot of it goes down to some of their freshmen just that are phenomenal. Braylee Chesley, Piper Mackey, these 2 girls are the future of Snow Canyon basketball for sure. And they're fun to watch. Again, they're youngsters. This is a fairly young team. You know, the Snow Canyon team that made it to the championship game last year, a lot of those being seniors. Right, you lost Kelly Howard, you lost Olivia Hamlin, you lost a lot of these players that were big part of this team for a lot of years. They moved on, right? They're done. They're graduated. They moved on. Chaley Andrews still around. She's a senior this year, so it's nice to have her down low because she's a phenomenal post player. But you're bringing in some of these younger players now at Snow Canyon that are good shooters. They are athletic, and I think the future for Snow Canyon basketball is pretty strong. Braylee Chesley, Piper Mackey, freshman. Fallon Randall, sophomore. She's a good shooter. Just to name a few that are underclassmen right now. So expect to see that. Makasini Fanua is someone who's been getting a lot more minutes, who's still a junior. So, again, this is a team that I'm really excited about for the Warriors. And they took down the Flyers last night. Good win for Snow Canyon. And, you know, it's tough. It's tough when you're facing off against a team that's slated to potentially be the state champions. I mean, I think that's where Dixie's at, is they're potentially on that run. Now Dixie will put a chip on their shoulder and they'll come back for more probably when state rolls around, right? And we'll see. We'll see how they do. The Flyers are still a really good team, so this is no slight against them. They've only lost 2 games this whole season. Only 2 games this whole season. The last time, by the way, that Snow Canyon and Dixie met up, it was 49-46. So that was a 3-point win in the favor of Dixie. So Snow Canyon, listen, I wouldn't say they're counted out by any means. You know, 13-9 record, kind of a middle ground record, but there's a good chance that they're going to be tough for anybody to play against this year. They're a top 5 team right now in the state of Utah when it comes to the RPI format, but so is Desert Hills and Pineview and Dixie. There's one team that's not. This could be a 4-way ranking. Like, we could potentially see all 4 of our Region 9 teams in the Final 4 for 4A basketball for the girls, which is insane. And honestly, we might see that for the boys too. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Because this has just been that kind of year. It's just been that kind of year. It's crazy. It's crazy. So that's how last night went down between Snow Canyon and Dixie. Now to another game, and this is wild. Like, just welcome to Region 9 basketball, right? So last night, let's talk about Pineview and Desert Hills, because this game was also a 1-point game. And going down the stretch, this game was narrow. Okay, Pineview actually got out to a really good lead. Pineview got out to a good lead in the first half. It was an ugly third quarter from both sides. We'll call it what it is. It was ugly on both sides. Fourth quarter, Desert Hills goes on a massive run and comes back into this game. And they had chances. But they just couldn't finish it off. They could not finish it off. And ultimately, yeah, it was Pineview walking away with the win. But these are two of the top 3 teams in the state of Utah, right? I mean, top 4, maybe we'll say, to be generous, right? According to their RPI rankings. But still, this is a game where when you look at the head-to-head matchup, these are teams that could be facing off late in the playoffs, because that's just how good they are. We could see this being like a day 2 at Weber State kind of a matchup between Pineview and Desert Hills, or any of these top 4 teams: Snow Canyon, Dixie, Desert Hills, Pineview. I really think the top 4 are just that good that we could potentially see that kind of a matchup. It's insane. It's insane. Girls basketball has been a lot of fun this year, and I don't think it's been given the credit that it deserves, because it has been so good. So you've got Emily Longy with 12 points leading the way for Desert Hills. Reese Gusson with 13. She had a couple of 3-pointers. Kalia Schlenker, who had 17 points on Tuesday night, was only given 1 3-pointer. So that was big defensively from Desert Hills to take out one of your top scorers for Pineview. Low scoring game, obviously, when you're in the low 40s, but ultimately Pineview walks away with the win. Final game of the night for girls basketball was Cedar and Hurricane, 62-23 in favor of Cedar. Just a commanding win for the Reds here over the Lady Tigers. For Cedar, it was Brooke Vargas, Gabby Gomez, who have been team leaders for a few years now for the Cedar Reds team. Brooke Vargas, 4 3-pointers, 16 points total. Gabby Gomez with 14 points to lead the way for the Reds. But this team just goes deep as well. So they get these leads going, and then they can go to the bench, which is great, because you continue to push your system that way, get in some of these younger players varsity minutes, or maybe just players who just don't see the floor a lot, get them on the court. And so that's good to see. Cedar really did go to their bench, and they weren't running up a score on purpose. They went to the bench and let the bench do their thing, it's good to see that. I like that. I think that's good sportsmanship. You get up to a certain point, pull the starters, let some of the younger team members play. I like it. So 62-23. We won't harp on that one for too long. It was a good win for Cedar, and they'll move into last week in a really good spot. Kind of sitting close to 500. One more win, and they'll be 11-11 right now. They are 10-11. If that is correct on at least Deseret News is where I was seeing that one. Usually Des News is a little off. They're saying Dixie has only 1 loss. I know they have 2 losses, because Max Preps has them with 2 losses. They lost to Pineview, lost to Snow Canyon. So you just never know. You never know. But as far as as far as Cedar goes, Cedar 4-6 right now in region play. I feel like they're kind of on that cutoff, though, of teams that are real powerhouse teams. I think the top 4 are real good powerhouse teams. And then Cedar, it's like they sneak out some wins, though. Cedar's a little sneaky. And I don't know. They could be a threat for some teams not in Region 9. I'll tell you that. I think that there's a chance we see Cedar go into the tournament, just because as a 5th seed in Region 9, they could still potentially end up being a top 8 team in the state if they match up with non-Region 9 teams. If they have to go play some Region 10, Region 11 teams, I think they might be sneaky good, which will be fun. So we'll see. That's how Region 9 basketball is shaping up for the girls. For the boys, first off, let's take a look back just real quick. If you missed Saturday. If you missed Wednesday night, first off, you can go and check out the Region 9 recap on St. George News. It's a video that I put together for St. George News. You can go and check that out and get a really good breakdown of what happened on Wednesday night. And you can take a look at the breakdown of all of the games with some highlights and some clips and stuff like that. But it was a fun night. We had some decent games. And I think the game that really capped it all off was, of course, Crimson Cliffs and Dixie. Tied game late. Dixie hit a three-pointer, tied it up with 30 seconds left. Then it was Crimson Cliffs. They had a chance with about 4 seconds left or so on the clock. They were inbounding the ball from the sideline, kind of by the scorer's table. And instead of inbounding and trying to just get a shot off, it was a really well-drawn play where Britton Phillips, as the inbounder, sends it into Trey Leroy. And Leroy's streaking to the basket, and it's an alley-oop play. An alley-oop out-of-bounds play. And you don't see those a lot in high school, and maybe that's just because if you do see it at a higher level, guys are doing it to dunk. That's not usually the case in high school because, well, they're high school players, right? There's not as much finesse there. Maybe there's just not as much, I don't know what the word is. They're not hitting the target as well as maybe a professional player would, we'll just say. From both the out-of-bounds play and the person who maybe can get up there, grab the ball, and dunk it down. That's just usually not what happens. So the Mustangs kind of putting it all on the line there. Granted, it was tied. They could have sent it to overtime, won it in overtime. So they had the ability to play with it a little bit. Worst case scenario, they go to overtime. Best case scenario, you walk it off. And they did just that. The play worked out very well. There's a clip of it again. It's over on, if you go to St. George News Facebook page, you can find it over there. It's a really cool play. So, yeah, Crimson Cliffs getting the win over Dixie. They stay on top in the region. And, I did have someone ask me this yesterday. And to answer the question, because this has come up a lot in Region 9 basketball, why is Crimson Cliffs, as a team that is in region play and in head-to-heads, 7-2, why is a team that's 7-2 behind two teams that they swept? That's kind of the question, right? So they swept Pineview, they swept Dixie, but they're behind them in the RPI. Pineview's second, Dixie's third, Crimson Cliffs is fourth. How is that possible? Well, again, it just goes to overall rankings. You get really good credits for playing tough teams. Even if you lose to those tough teams, you get better credits for that. So Crimson Cliffs gets really good credits for winning these games against Region 9 teams, sure, but Pineview and Dixie have better credits because they played tough teams in preseason. Pineview went and played a Bishop Gorman. Great team. Dixie, in their preseason, they had a pretty good schedule. They played against Provo, who's the number one team in the state of Utah. They played against Timpview, and yes, they lost that game, but still, good game. They played against Farmington, a tough game that they lost as well. And we're talking about they're playing against some of these teams that are the top teams in the state of Utah, whether they're 4A or not, because they're not. They still went and played these games. Yes, they lost them, but it pays off for the RPI format, even though you lose those games. So if you schedule your losses correctly, then they're good losses. Now, if you win those games, even better. But losing does not hurt. So then you go into region play, you win some, you lose some, you're still going to be one of the top teams because you're willing to schedule tough opponents. It's weird how it works, but that is how it works. The way that the algorithms all work out is a little odd, to say the least. So yeah, Dixie's third, Pineview second, Crimson Cliffs fourth. And I do think this is, again, another situation where we could see 4 or 5 teams from the region making it to Weber State for boys basketball specifically. The teams that I just named, Pineview, Dixie, Crimson Cliffs, Hurricane, Snow Canyon, I think could all have a chance to make it. The way that Hurricane and Snow Canyon make it is going to be tough. Here's the problem with Hurricane and Snow Canyon right now. They're both at the 8 and 9 seed. The problem with the 8 and 9 seed is that they would play each other in the second round of the playoffs, which is still home sites. Which would mean we'd see Hurricane and Snow Canyon facing off at Hurricane High School before we go to the state championships. The way that this would work best is either A, you hope that East High School loses a bunch and Snow Canyon and Hurricane can kind of swoop their way into the top 8 and not have to deal with that. And then they could play against East High School. One of those teams would have to play against East. Or you almost hope that Snow Canyon loses some and falls back to like 10th. And then if East stays in 7th, it would be Snow Canyon going to East High School and maybe beating them. And then that way they could take over that spot and then go to the playoffs from there. As of right now, it'd be Hurricane and Snow Canyon going head-to-head. And that's not ideal. It's not ideal for Snow Canyon and Hurricane if we want to see more Region 9 teams. I know that there's a lot of fans. I get that you guys are fans of certain schools. You might be a Hurricane fan. You might be just a Snow Canyon fan. You don't care if other Region 9 teams make it. I get that. As someone who's impartial to anything in Southern Utah, I like to see more Southern Utah teams make it to the tournament and then fight it out. I want to see Southern Utah teams kind of run the gamut there and go to these final games and run it, right? I think that's really fun. I think that's really cool to see. Not always the case, but it's still fun. So anyway, that's what happened on Wednesday night with, again, Crimson Cliffs got the win there. Now, I will say we didn't mention this yet, but there were some, of course, a bunch of other games that went down on Wednesday night. Pineview got a win over Hurricane. Close game through the first half. Hurricane actually, it was kind of back and forth with the lead. I want to say Hurricane actually had the lead going into halftime. But as is the case with when you're playing against good teams like Pineview, teams can go on runs, and Pineview did just that. They went on a good run in the second half. In fact, they kind of went on 2 runs. Went on a run, Hurricane kind of put an end to it. They go on a second run later, Hurricane puts an end to it, but at that point, it was kind of too far gone, and so Pineview gets a win 67-59. Good win for Pineview, and especially bouncing back after their loss to Crimson Cliffs, which was not a great loss last week. So for Pineview, that was a good win. Hurricane, it seems like right as soon as they get their feet underneath them with a win, they get swept right back out from underneath them, and they fall and take a loss. So, the Tigers are an enigma for sure because they are a really good team. And there's some days that they play with some ferocity and get wins against teams that maybe they shouldn't be beating. And then there's games where I'm like, okay, maybe they do have a chance based off of what I saw last time. And then it's like, now they've just fell short again. They're a team I wouldn't want to face in the playoffs. They're scrappy. They're tough. We saw that last year in the playoffs. They had a chance to go to the championship game last year. It almost paid off for them, but they lost late to Pace, and it was a tough one last year. So, I don't know. Good chance for Hurricane this year, potentially. We'll see. And then you have Snow Canyon getting the win over Desert Hills, 70-56. That's a big win there. Good win for Snow Canyon. And overall, the Warriors are looking good this year. They had 4 guys in double digits. Dylan Luke has been fun to watch this year. He has been really athletic. He's good at hitting the 3. He can get to the basket. Same with Reggie Mackey. Reggie Mackey, though, really became a facilitator in this game. He scored 15 points, sure, but, 7 assists was more than double of anybody else on his team in assists, which is insane. So, yeah, shout out to Reggie Mackey on that. Isaiah Thompson, Parker Olson in double digits. Kid Kelch almost got there. So it's a pretty good lineup that they've got at Snow Canyon. And that's the game we're covering tonight, by the way. Snow Canyon at Dixie is going to be happening here on a Friday night. That's the game that I'm going to be at. I'll be doing a play-by-play for that one here at the Fan Sports Network, which is going to be awesome. Speaking of more of the games coming up tonight, so Crimson Cliffs has the night off. And so no Mustangs. They're going to stay number 1. You can't take a loss if you don't play, right? So Crimson Cliffs Mustangs will stay on top in the region going into next week. Hurricane and Cedar are going to be facing off. Cedar hasn't won a game yet in Region 9. I don't expect them to start. And I don't want that to sound harsh. I just want that to be kind of what it is, But you never know. You never know. It's at Hurricane High School. Cedar had a pretty good start against Hurricane in the last matchup, but I expect the Tigers to get this one. And then Pineview and Desert Hills. I would also expect Pineview to get this win here, but Desert Hills can be scrappy. You just never know. You never know with Desert Hills. I know that they've taken a little bit, off of their game this year. They've taken their lumps for sure, but Pineview, I think, is a team that could match up interestingly against Desert Hills. I would expect Pineview to win this game, but you know what? Desert Hills can go out there, play strong, give them some action. We'll see. Again, Snow Canyon, Dixie, that's the game we're broadcasting tonight with the Fan Sports Network. That's your Boulevard home game of the week. Watch it over on the Fan Sports Network YouTube page, where you're probably watching this podcast if you're watching it, or at the fansportsnetwork.com. So that's coming up tonight at 7. All right, boys basketball. We'll put it behind us for just a bit. And next week's going to be insane because next week is when we get into some of the really fun and insane stuff. Crimson Cliffs has 3 games next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as they wrap up the season. We don't have a Region 9 champion. We don't. And the probability that we're going to see a Region 9 champion by like Wednesday is extremely unlikely. So I don't know. Snow Canyon could go out there and beat Crimson Cliffs for all we know on Monday. And then maybe we're looking at it really coming down to a Friday night matchup. I don't know. But it's going to be wild. To talk wrestling, though, switching gears, let's go to wrestling for just a little bit here. Boys wrestling is going on today. So they have divisionals going on today and tomorrow. And Crimson Cliffs High School is going to be the home for a section of that. So they have different divisions, Division A, Division B kind of thing is how it works out. And so one of the divisions is going to be at Crimson Cliffs High School. That's where they're going to be doing this. The other one's going to be up in Mountain View High School up in Logan area. So that's going on today. If you get a chance, go over to Crimson Cliffs High School, watch some wrestling, and go support our Southern Utah teams, which would be fantastic. We love to see some more Southern Utah teams do well. So we got that going on. Girls already experienced their divisionals. That's already over and done with. Just to give a shout out, there were a couple of Cedar wrestlers that took first place in their divisionals. Berkeley Roundy for Cedar took first in the 120 division, and I hope I can get this name right. Jerry Togiai, hopefully that's how you say that, also from Cedar in the 235 division. So Cedar taking home a couple of firsts, which is awesome from that divisional round. So congrats to them. I will say as a team, though, it was a little more unfortunate. Both Cedar and Crimson Cliffs, who were part of Division A, didn't perform as well as they would have hoped to. So we didn't see anything too extraordinary from those teams. We did have for Crimson Cliffs, though, Eden Smith took second in the 100-pound division. So that was a good one there. And then you had Austin Lovell as well taking second. So that was pretty sweet as well. Division B, who, again, they went up to Mountain View High School. So that was teams like Dixie, Pineview, Hurricane. For Dixie, taking a look here, and we had Adelia Baldo, who took first place in the divisional round in 235, which is a really phenomenal thing. I mean, taking first place in wrestling is hard in any division and in any class. So congrats there. Dixie as a team took fourth, which is pretty impressive. So you'd love to see that. And we had Hurricane was also part of this division. They didn't have anybody who took first. They had a fourth place, couple of third places. So kind of in that middle ground there, which isn't too bad. It's not a bad spot to be. But as a team, they wish maybe there's a little more success. You had Britton Helt for Pineview taking second in her class in 115s. And you had, let's see, Fia from Pineview taking first as well. So there you go. There's a few Pineview wrestlers that did pretty well. So, all right. And that kind of wraps it up for the divisionals. State wrestling is coming up here it's still like a week or two away. So we got a little bit of time, but keep your eye on that. It's going to be happening up at the UCCU at Utah Valley University. All right. Lots to cover today. That was a lot to get through here in the Southern Utah Sports Report, but appreciate you sticking with me if you stuck through me through the whole episode. It's been a lot of fun. We've got some basketball tonight. We're going to be covering drills going on tonight. As I mentioned before, wrestling is still going on today over at Crimson Cliffs High School for some divisionals in one of the groups there. So lots of stuff you can support this weekend. Utah Tech is on the road this week. For those of you here following men's basketball, they're on the road tomorrow. I believe they're going to be at Tarleton State, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, the women will be in town, though, at Burns Arena for those of you following in Southern Utah. I think Cedar with SUU is also on the road for men's and at home for women's. But that's what's going on in college basketball as well. So here's your quick updates from the Southern Utah Sports Report. Thank you for joining me on the show today. I've been Caden Formaster, and until next time, we'll see you.